Hey guys, it's Luke again, and welcome back to yet another Ninjago video onto the channel today. Now, this is a topic that I have thought about doing recently, because I feel like not everyone is knowing the difference. Um, Not everyone is knowing the difference between necessary filler and unnecessary filler. A lot of people think that filler is just filler. It's all clumped into one spectrum where if it's filler, even if it carries the plot around, it's terrible. Well, I'm here to disprove that. I'm here to disprove that not all filler is bad, and that fillers can be good, and that there are necessary fillers where they have to keep the story going, even if it looks kind of stupid. So, yeah, I'll talk about what I mean by necessary and unnecessary filler at this moment. Necessary filler is basically a filler episode where, in my opinion, it's a filler episode where it carries the plot. Even if most of the episode doesn't really does its own little thing, tells its own little story, as long as it carries like one aspect of the main plot over to the other episodes, it's necessary. And this would be a confirmation of it being a necessary filler. The plot can't continue on without that one episode. It's weird, but sometimes it's true. The biggest example of this is The News Never Sleeps. This episode is mostly liked, but it has its fair share of haters who think, oh, just because it's filler, it's automatically a terrible episode. And I always say to them, no, it's not terrible because it actually does carry the plot. What? How? Because if Nelson did not tell Wu about where the ninja were, the ninja would be dead. They'd be dead, pretty much. Um, so that was kind of the only way for the plot to continue, was to have that episode. Now, you could make the excuse, but they didn't need to waste the time for something that simple. And you're right, they didn't really have to, quote, waste it, but as long as it carries the plot forward, does it really matter? No, it really doesn't. But now we get into the area of unnecessary filler. Unnecessary filler is filler that does nothing but waste your time. In my opinion, it does nothing but waste your time, and you could completely skip it and practically nothing would change. So, I have two examples of this. First example is Double Trouble from season 2. I used to like this episode, but now I realize why people dislike it. It's completely pointless. The kids turn evil again in the next episode and try to sabotage the ninja during the race. So what was the point of making them good? If they're just gonna turn evil an episode later. What's the point? And another one is one of my least favorite episodes in the entire series, The Absolute Worst. Now, you could say that episode was just made out to be a joke, but seriously, why was this episode made? It really was just made to show how the 2D ideas in Ninjago work, I guess. You could easily skip this episode because it doesn't really matter. It's not relevant. And it's just overall, it gets in the way of the season that it's in. So now I'm gonna see if I could try and look at which filler or episodes are necessary and which ones are unnecessary. Darkness Shall Rise. All right. This episode is weird. But you might not agree with me, but I do think this one was necessary because it carries the idea of the ninja training Lloyd, and as well as Garmadon joining the Serpentine and creating the mega weapon. So those were two very important plot points in that one episode. So it carried the story over, even if the story in the beginning of season 2, it wasn't that great, and it just was full of weird stuff like this. It still carried a story nonetheless. Pirates versus Ninja. Now, I can't say that it carries on Lloyd's training again, since that's really more Darkness Shall Rise. And all this episode really does is introduce Captain Soto and nothing really else. And it introduces Dareth and gives them a place to stay. So I guess it carries the plot. It's a weird. There's sometimes it's like it carries the plot, but it only carries like one plot point that doesn't really matter after a couple of episodes. So this one I can't really determine if it's necessary or unnecessary. It's necessary because of where the Daros Mojo Jojo, but it's unnecessary due to the fact that there's nothing really that much that comes out of it really. Ninja Ball Run, one of my least favorite episodes again. The ending still pisses me off to this day. But at least they got the bounty, so I guess that's a good thing. I guess that makes it necessary. Even if it is a pain to watch. It's that they do get the bounty back, I guess. So I guess it's necessary. Now, Child's Play. Child's Play was completely necessary, whether you like it or not. It was a hilarious episode, and it really gave the development of Lloyd from being the small little kid to the grown adult. And it's sad watching his childhood being ripped away from him just like that. He had to sacrifice his own childhood to save his mentors, which is something that I'll always respect. And then we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which more people are starting to hate this episode just for how convoluted and just how confusing it is. Well, I won't say it isn't confusing. It is. It definitely is. But I feel like people are making it more confusing than it seems. But that's another video for a time later. Basically, this episode destroys the mega weapon and pretty much retcons somewhat of season 1, so it pretty much makes the past couple of seasons, everything we've seen up to that point gets kind of retconned, I guess, and so that it just seems that whatever happened in this episode is pretty much what happened in seasons the pilots through up until that point. So yeah, that's confusing. But do I think getting rid of the mecha weapon was the best option? I mean, if it could go through space and time, that's practically overpowered right there. So at least they got an overpowered way to get rid of an overpowered weapon. So I think this one is a tricky question. This one's tricky. I can't really determine it for this one. Then we don't really see a season that has that many filler, or at least doesn't seem to have a filler episode until season 11. As I said before, the News Never Sleeps is completely necessary. But the belly of the Rocky Star and the Belly of the Beast, completely unnecessary. You could literally skip from episode 2, questing for Quest, to episode 5, Booby Traps and Where to Find Them, and you would get pretty much the same result, even if you didn't watch it. So they're completely unnecessary. As I said before, News Never Sleeps is completely necessary. So the next one is Snake Catastrophe. Yeah, you could skip this one. This one's not necessary. You can't make the news interesting to anyone, to us. You just can't. And it just really seemed like an advertisement of an episode, really. Absolute worst? Yeah. Skip. Skip that episode. It's not necessary, period. Now, the Kaiju Protocol, often considered the most despised episode to ever exist in the entire series. Because, it breaks the canon. Like, if you expect the canon to be broken, it's not that big of a deal. It's like the lore is broken in pretty much almost every season, so why is it that big of a deal? So this one is weird because I do think it continues on with the story, like its own story, and not the main story with them. It's just placed in such an awkward position that I can't really judge it. If it was placed much earlier in the season than in that chapter, then yeah, I would say that this is an unnecessary filler. But because it's placed in this certain fashion, I can't determine it. Now, some people say I Am Okino from season 12 is somewhat filler-ish, because yeah, I do think some parts of it is filler, like the first couple of guys. Um, but it does symbolize a reason that he's just he practically is depressed at that point. His life is Okino. How was your day? It was Okino. I had to do that. But so there you go. So um I wouldn't say it's completely filler. It's not unnecessary. It is necessary because how else would we just get from Superstar Rockin' J to Okino? It's just presented in a way that's just weird. All right, but that's it. The difference between necessary and unnecessary filler. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I think about this. Which episodes do you consider necessary filler, and which filler episodes do you consider unnecessary filler? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by clicking on that red subscribe button and clicking on the notification bell to see every video that I will upload. And I'll see you folks in the next video. Bye bye.